So the era of the tyranny of the Transformers more than meets the eye continues to fall apart, my friends, as once again the Supreme Court is standing up for common sense and for pro-not insanity. Doesn't mean they're perfect, but this is another win. The Supreme Court, this is from The Hill, reinstates Donald Trump's administration's transgender passport policy, meaning your sex, the one that you were born with, the one that you are unable to change no matter what kind of cosmetic surgeries you do to change your outward appearance. Binary. Well, now that gets to be shown on your passport, no matter what weirdness you might identify it. If you think you are a huffy bicycle and you get the surgeries to give yourself some rubber tires for feet, you still will be shown as a male and or female depending on what you were born as. The Supreme Court on Thursday ruled President Trump's State Department can prohibit transgender Americans from listing their fake gender identity on their passports for now. It hands another legal victory for Trump in his efforts to eviscerate what his administration is calling gender identity. Of course, we call it mental illness because, you can't change your sex. The Justice Department brought the emergency appeal after lower courts tried to block the passport policy because, again, you had rogue, corrupt judges who are trying to become little Führers, little presidents themselves. And so they tried to block the passport policy for being rooted in irrational prejudice, meaning believing in science. Displaying passport holders' sex at birth no more offends equal protection principles than displaying their country of birth. In both cases, the government is merely attesting to a historical fact without subjecting anyone to differential treatment. The majority Supreme Court wrote in an unsigned ruling. The ruling appears to be along the court's 6-3 ideological lines, though the justices do not have to publicly disclose their votes. In dissent, of course, the court's liberals called the ruling pointless but painful perversion. No. To these idiot judges out there, it's not a painful perversion unless you're talking about shutting down a painful perversion of reality. If you coddle the mentally ill, if you coddle the madness of pretending that you can change who you are when you can't, you are setting the stage for all kinds of irrational lunacy from here on out. Reality doesn't matter anymore. Who you are, who you're born as doesn't matter. You could be anything you want. You could be a Lego block. Then nothing makes sense when it comes to law and order, reality. If 1 + 1 no longer equals 2, then nothing matters. And of course, this is a litmus test for the radical weirdos on the left, because for them to institute their weird communist, socialist utopia, they need to bend reality. They need people to be able to agree with what is patently false. Every communist regime does this. It's Orwell 1984 all over again. Your lying eyes don't matter. The truth doesn't matter. It's whatever the state says matters is what matters. And so being able to erase biological realities because on a whim, and the government backs that up, then there's no reality that matters anymore. Now, the weird Justice Ketanji Brown, the dumbest Supreme Court justice probably in American history, joined Justice Elena Kagan and Sonia Sotomayor, saying such senseless sidestepping of the obvious equitable outcome has become an unfortunate pattern. This, of course, was written by the idiot Ketanji. So too is my own refusal, because she has no idea what she says by obvious equitable outcome. So too is my own refusal to look the other way when basic principles are selectively discarded. She got that from a chat GPT to write that for her. You could just tell in the way that statement's written. Solicitor General John Sauer called lower rulings blocking the administration's policy untenable. Yeah, because they were retarded, casting them as infringing on Trump's constitutional authority over foreign affairs, and more importantly, a untenable infringing on reality. The president's choice to revert to prior policy and rely on biological sex, meaning science, a choice that bound the State Department, should be the last place for novel equal protections claims or Administrative Procedure Act objections. Right. It's retarded. The State Department policy requires passport holders to use their sex assigned at birth. It's not a sex assigned at birth. It is sex that you are from conception, assigned at birth. Even that language is stupid. And this goes back to that attempt to corrupt language, because words mean things. And if you can corrupt the language, you can corrupt the next generation of youth as they grow up. Oh, he was assigned at birth. Of course. Why then, if you had only been assigned a different gender, everything would have been fine. Anyway, the State Department's prohibiting transgender people from matching with a gender identity. The policy also removed the option for people to select X because, again, retarded, leaving male and female as the only two options. Because guess what? That's all that exists in the realm of reality. Now, American Civil Liberties Union, or the ACLU, because of course it's this weird group, Chase Strangio warned in court filings that this new policy puts transgender, non-binary, and intersex people in potential danger whenever they use a passport. Well, guess what? None of those things are actually real. You're just mentally ill. You're just insane if you think you're something that you are not. Now, if you want to dress up as an opposite gender, I don't care. But if you actually believe that you can change your gender, well, then you are insane. Now, Strangio and the ACLU represents transgender and non-binary Americans, the mentally ill, who are suing over the State Department's changes because they are, in fact, crazy. And they are arguing it violates federal law and constitutional equal protection rights, convincing a federal judge appointed by former President Biden, of course, and later the first U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, which is a bunch of idiots, to halt the policy because they are stupid. It marked the latest case implicating Trump's day one executive order that cracks down on what he calls gender ideology. Ding, 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 to reach the Supreme Court. Previously, the justices issued emergency orders allowing the administration to enforce its transgender troops ban and cancel diversity-linked health grants, which are all stupid. So, bottom line is this is a win for sanity. But the battle is by no means won. We cannot have the mentally ill dictating to the rest of us how the world works.